Right, here we go. What's the future of Nottingham Racecourse as we come down to earth with a bang? Lee Mottershead, an exclusive in the Racing Post this week from its senior writer.
God bless you. So Nottingham Racecourse does face a slightly uncertain future. The racecourse is owned by Nottingham City Council, which has had an ongoing lease arrangement with the Jockey Club and its predecessor Racecourse Holdings Trust since 1965. The current lease deal ends in 2029. And the council confirmed to me in a quote last week that they are exploring all options, including selling the freehold for Nottingham Racecourse. And they had said they had received expressions of interest in that freehold. Now, one possibility could be that the racecourse is sold for development, for housing. However, it's on designated green belt and it's in a floodplain area. So that would make it hard to sell the land for that purpose and also to mount a convincing case for it to be part of the local plan for that purpose. If you're looking at potential suitors for buying Nottingham as a racecourse, clearly the Jockey Club would like to keep Nottingham, but we know from what Jim Mullen has said that they are in a financial position where they need capital injection. Arena Racing Company, the Jockey Club's big rival, has made an approach to the council with a view to trying to acquire Nottingham. They are clearly in a different financial situation to the Jockey Club, and I think if you're looking at it as a pure head-to-head, the Jockey Club could potentially have a fight on its hands to keep Nottingham.
And how great is his appetite going to be to fight for that? That'll be interesting, won't it, Chester?
Yeah, no, it certainly will. I mean, it sort of depends on how, the Jockey Club, what they want to be doing going forward. And well, I see the Kempton closure is coming up, and
you can just keep on talking. We'll keep rolling the clock.
No, well, what is the news on the Kempton closure this week?
Well, you've got the right man on your right because he's written a special report on it.
Yeah, so I penned a piece during the week looking at where we are now with Kempton and how we got to where we are now. Where we are now is, as has been reported, Barrett Redrow, housing developer, has an option deal on Kempton, which was signed in 2028. It actually took 2018, sorry. Yeah. It took 7 years for that to be made public, raising questions about transparency from the Jockey Club in relation to Kempton. The Jockey Club insists it has been transparent. I think you can very much argue a case against that. Where we are now is that towards the end of last year, the government's planning and infrastructure bill achieved royal assent. That drastically changes the situation in terms of development. It gives the government much more power to force developments through, and we know the government's growth agenda is built on development. I think there's a recognition from within the Jockey Club that this does change things. They confirmed that to me in a quote. They stress that the future of Kempton in terms of whether the option deal is exercised is entirely in the hands of Barrett Redrow. The Jockey Club's hands are tied on this one, and I think there is a general expectation that in the near future Barrett Redrow will begin to seek to exercise its option. Now, clearly, there are many hurdles that would need to be jumped before Kempton ceased to be a racecourse. But I would be surprised if over the coming months the story did not start to gather pace.
What's your perspective on Kempton and its need to be there as a jumps track and what it provides for jumps trainers?
Obviously, no. Kempton is quite unique in the fact that it is decent ground in the summer, in the winter, but to me, times need to move forward. Sports change, and if Kempton needs to be sold, well, by the sounds of it, it's all in Redrow's hands, and if Kempton gets sold, we'll hopefully move forward and change things, and things will adapt it. If you take out the King George is the race that everyone goes to. If you put that aside, and Kempton being sold makes lots of financial sense if the money is used wisely by the Jockey Club. That's the key thing, is that the Jockey Club using the money wisely, looking at going forward.
So it's interesting because this is not the orthodox view. If, as you say, if the money is used wisely, the original plan was to use that money to completely tart up Sandown Park, make it, London's racecourse, etc., and also build an all-weather in Newmarket, which I think is still in the mix, isn't it, Lee?
The Newmarket is, I'm not sure about Sandown, but certainly
but I think it would be, if they did sell it and get the money, I think it would be an absolute dereliction of their duty not to plough some of that money into Sandown and to make it a proper visitor experience.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, and yeah, that to me is the crucial thing. Is that I get frustrated with the money that the Jockey Club, the revenues raised from jump racing, gets nearly always ploughed into Newmarket and flat racing. So actually, Sandown, which at least is a mixed course, that getting some money would be a positive.
I think part of that is because most of the Jockey Club's revenues come from Cheltenham and Aintree. So jumping.
And Kempton, by the way,
absolutely,
all the media rights money.
And in terms of jumping, because where there was transparency in 2017 when the initial sale announcement came through that the King George would move to Sandown, in response to the questions I asked for this piece, there was no clear direction as to where the race would go. All my indications have been is that the momentum had been behind moving the King George to Aintree in a world without Kempton. But with appalling timing for the Jockey Club, on Boxing Day this year, the low sun issue cropped up at Kempton, and in a 3-mile steeplechase, they had to skip 9 of the 19 fences.
I may get asked to relinquish this if I say... I mean, I'm a committee member at Aintree, have been for 9 years. I don't love the idea of the King George at Aintree.
No, but I think plenty in the Jockey Club do.
Really?
Yeah.
OK.
And it's one of the 2 tracks that Jim Mullin identified for significant investment, Cheltenham and
Executive
Aintree.
or non-executive?
How do you mean?
Where's the enthusiasm for moving the King George to Aintree?
I think within executive level there have been people that have been quite keen on the Aintree idea, in the sense that, I mean, you look as well, they acquired a Boxing Day fixture at Aintree a few years ago, and there'll be logic in saying you build up that as a day, and then if you're going to move the King George somewhere, you'd move it there. I think there's a feeling that Sandown is limited in what it can take crowd-wise, and there's also a feeling that a King George at Sandown would be a completely different race to a King George at Kempton. And I know there are some who would say that if we're in a position now where the Jockey Club is being more commercial in terms of selling days, moving races.
Sell it to Ascot. Yeah, I mean, that's been punted around for years, hasn't it?
Completely.
I'm not sure I love that idea much either. Anyway,
probably got to run it somewhere.
Yeah, you got to put it. So I mean, I probably would take it to Sandown if it had to go somewhere. Yeah. I think you have an obligation to the community, and it's the nearest community to Kempton. I think you have, otherwise, what's the sport about?
I think that's right. I think
it's right-handed. I know that the dimensions of the track are different, but the chase track at Sandown actually isn't a glue pot like the hurdles course.
No, it's true.
It's still the best viewing track in the country.
Yeah.
It was run at Sandown in 2000.
Yeah, one man and Kicking King. Yeah. Both of them were good ground horses. They both won it at Sandown.
But as you said before, Nick, if we do lose Kempton, the Jockey Club has to pour money into Sandown because it's a wonderful racecourse, but geez, it begs to have money spent on it.
Yeah. Right, we've got guests waiting, so I still can't find the ballot number. So there you go. I thought it'd be out now for Constitution Hill.
9:30 was supposed to be ballot time.
Now 27 minutes past 10, and we can't find it on the Racing Admin website. So.
But we're waiting to know whether Constitution Hill is likely.
If Racing Digital was here, we'd have it by now, wouldn't
20 million quid.
Yeah.
That's going to cost. So we're waiting to find out if Constitution Hill, because viewers might have heard that there's a plan to run him at Southwell on Friday night in a May night.
Is that right?
There's a rumour going round. Yeah, rumour going round. So, but the problem is, and some might think of this as a delicious twist in the story, this race has been created, well not created, but has been moved in the programme and has had its value significantly enhanced for Constitution Hill. It turned out that putting on a £40,000 novice race has made it quite attractive to a number of trainers, including jumps trainers, who, when 32 entries are made for the race yesterday, it's rather made it look like a jumper's bumper at Southwell next Friday night. The way the system works, I'm trying to make a ballot rule sound exciting here, there are 8 horses who have run once or twice and had a finish in the first 4 who automatically move to the top of the ballot. There are then 15 unraced flat horses who are next in the pecking order, if you like.
Most of those have jumpers.
Most of them are trademark jumpers. And those 15 horses will have a position, the ballot made this morning, will already been done. And depending on where Constitution Hill is in that ballot order, will determine his chance of getting in the race that has been moved and pumped up in value for him.
You're about the only jumps trainer who hasn't got an entry, as I said. Fergal O'Brien's got Triple E Flyer in there. Matt Nichols and Kim Bailey have got one in there. Hughie Morrison's still stuck Secret Squirrel in there. He ran yesterday, so he won't be running. But yeah, they're all having a go. Willie Mullins, Daddy Longlegs, he's definitely in. He's definitely getting in.
Yeah. We clearly just need more of these races. 40,000 1.5 mile 4-year-old plus novice races.
Charlie Johnston did not like it at all, did he?
No.
So why are they diverting resource into that? What's your view on it as a, well, Martin Cruddas and I stopped short of saying gimmick last week. I said initiative.
It is. The whole Constitution Hill thing, it's just a sort of the story that keeps them going, and the Racing Post must owe the money, must owe the owners Nick Henson some money, because he keeps the story going, and nothing surprises you when it comes to him.
What do you think will happen?
Well, hopefully he runs, he wins, and hopefully end up in a champion hurdle.
Would you run him in the champion hurdle if it was yours?
Actually, I don't know. If I'm the trainer, there is so much pressure around it. But no, Nicky Henson is an absolute expert. He's watched every step he's ever done, and the team at Seven Barriers will know much more about the story of his jumping and how he scores and everything than I ever will. So, in
principle, would you be in favour of him running?
It's a tough one. I think there is so much. I mean, as soon as he fell at Newcastle, the first thing I did was think, I really hope he's okay. I mean, when any horse falls, you hope they're okay. But with him in particular, because I knew the backlash that comes from that is going to be so huge. And no, we need to be careful. We need to be careful as a sport and as an industry.
Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott both held media days this week. First thing that the Elliott media day told you is that his squad at Cheltenham could be up to 50, and he's got a lot of very nice horses this year. We know that Willie Mullins has got the strongest stable there's ever been. What we don't know is where they're going to go. Now, this is a familiar refrain, but not always in such high-profile circumstances, Liam, with so many. Yeah. So you've got Factor File and Gaelic Warrior, who you could make a cogent case are the two best staying chasers in training.
Yes, you could make a case for that.
At this minute in time?
Certainly 3 milers.
Yeah, but we could have a situation where neither of them runs in the Gold Cup. They both could run in the Gold Cup, or one goes Ryanair, one goes Gold Cup. What's going to happen?
Well, I think...
What should happen?
I think the consensus, what should happen is they should both run in the Gold Cup, because the Gold Cup is light years above the Ryanair chase in terms of prestige, or it should be deemed to be. There seems to be consensus building that they won't both go for the Gold Cup. I think Ruby Walsh has said that he would envisage one of them going for the Gold Cup, one of them going for the Ryanair. Willie Mullins at his press day this week said that if you went back to November, everyone was seeing Factor File as an Irish banker for the Ryanair, not least because he was so imperious in the race last season. What he's done in the Irish Gold Cup, though, has changed everything. There now is momentum behind him being supplemented for the Gold Cup. I think it's 25 grand to put him in the race. And I think there is certainly a logical case to say if you win the Irish Gold Cup as he did, you deserve a crack at the Gold Cup. Gaelic Warrior, who was second in that race, and he's proven over more than 3 miles, having won the Ballot Aintree last year, also would seem to be more than deserving of a place in the Gold Cup. But I know Willie was saying during his press day that maybe you could see him as an obvious Ryanair type as well. So I think knowing that the Closutton thing is just basically win as many races as you can at Cheltenham, I would be surprised if both those horses run in the Gold Cup.
OK. I want to move on because time is against us. Max McNeil, excellent interview in the Post today, the big reads, really good with Max McNeil. Earlier in the week, Daily Mirror had quoted him as saying, really, horses of the calibre of Lossiemouth shouldn't be running in the Mayor's Hurdle. Now, this is refried beans, I grant you. This is not original. But it was interesting that somebody who is a good friend of the owner of Lossiemouth should come out and say, look, and a board member at Cheltenham should come out and say, we need to restructure this race. So somebody from within Cheltenham, within the Cheltenham hierarchy, is saying, we've got to find a way that mares that are as good as this actually can't have the option of just going down the easier route. Is that something that you agree with?
It's in the champion hurdle. Clearly, mares it's becoming more. No, we've pushed the programme for mares, and actually we're getting more mares into the sport. And in 2 more hurdles, mares with the £7 allowance are proving to be very effective. You've had Honeysuckle, Epatons, Lossy Mountain. There's been a string of them now, and you do wonder if something needs this problem is going to keep cropping up going forward. This isn't one horse. This is a variety of horses now. And in 5 years' time, we could still be having the same conversation with a different mare.
Racing loves a circular.
Yeah, I just wonder if you move the mares' hurdle to another meeting. Everything is obsessed with the festival, but could you not have a brilliant mares' hurdle at the January meeting? And then we've tried to this idea that we've tried to make into the Olympics. It's the Olympics of our sport, but there are other days, and actually there are.
Well, money talks, doesn't it? If you made a 250 grand mares Grade 1 on Festival Trials Day, then there you go.
Well, then it's an absolutely brilliant race, and everyone will turn up, and people will be excited for it. I think that's what I would do, but thankfully it's above my pay grade to think about these things.
Well, it's a shame, because you've got plenty of good ideas. Andrew Rhodes, who has previously been a guest on this show, has stepped down, or is to step down, as the Chief Executive of the Gambling Commission. Lee, how is that going to change the Gambling Commission, first off?
Well, we don't know. We do know that the Gambling Commission changed when Andrew Rhodes came in. He has been whether you believe what he has done on the agenda that he has led has been good or bad, he's been a very strong leader of the Gambling Commission. Under his stewardship, the power of the Gambling Commission has significantly increased, with the government, both the previous Conservative government and the current Labour government, seemingly happy to delegate more and more responsibility to the Gambling Commission. In their comment on his departure, the BGC, the Betting and Gaming Council, was very flattering about Andrew Rhodes. I think if you were asking Racing PLC to provide commentary on Andrew Rhodes' departure, they would be saying along the lines of, well, we're quite glad you're leaving, because there is no doubt that the Gambling Commission under Andrew Rhodes has had a hugely negative impact on British racing and its finances through their enthusiasm for affordability checks, which have drastically changed British racing's financial health and will continue to do so. I think clearly he will have done good things, but I think you'd certainly question mark over affordability checks. We still don't know really what the long-term future is. I think for a long time the Gambling Commission under his leadership was sceptical about the growing influence of the black market. That has changed since then now as well. But it will be interesting if the Gambling Commission under a new leader behaves as this one has.
No, nothing more to add.
Fine. OK, we'll move on. Asian Racing Conference took place in Riyadh this week. Now, I was working at the racecourse, so was not able to really see any of it, Lee, because it was downtown in Riyadh. But there was pretty much anyone who was anyone, it seemed, there, or speaking, or a delegate, or whatever. What were the main topics?
Well, just reference the black market. That has been a constant theme of Asian racing conferences. It's a Hong Kong-led thing, and Hong Kong has been hugely big on the black market. That argument was made again this year with Winfried Engelbert-Bresges, by far and away the most influential global racing leader, talking about the black market being rampant now. He said that tackling the black market required a global approach, and that call for a global approach seemed to be the constant theme running through this year's Asian Racing Conference. That on a number of fronts, in terms of tackling the black market, in terms of making racing more appealing to a younger demographic, in terms of tackling the global foal crisis, that a global approach was needed. A lot of British voices and Irish voices at the Asian Racing Conference this year, including from Philip Newton, the chair of the Thoroughbred Breeders Association.
Still talking about Project Pace. For anyone who's forgotten what that is.
I mean, it's really only now Philip and Lord Allen who have been talking about Project Pace.
But did Martin Cruddas not allude to it sort of obliquely
slightly
on this show last week when he was talking about the sort of super Premier fixtures?
And me saying that there aren't many talking about it now isn't to decry what its ambitions are, because clearly the case that Philip made in his speech for trying to find a way of packaging together some global races and selling them in that way is very persuasive. But in terms of Project Pace itself, all the indications seem to be that racecourses over here haven't yet been persuaded that giving up a degree of control of those races would be desirable for them.
So, intense conversation from racing's leaders at the Asian Racing Conference in Riyadh this week, and then they could all let their hair down with a nice cup of tea afterwards.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.